Dance, Music, Sex, Romance, or D.M.S.R for short, is the fifth song on Prince's 1982 album, 1999. D.M.S.R is a really danceable, funky track, and Prince lets his fears and insecurities kind of go along the wayside in the name of having fun on the song. Some of the things that he was kind of fearful of in the first few tracks on the album, like nuclear war or not being classy enough for a certain fast girl, Little Red Corvette, are all gone here. It's all about having fun. And joining me again to discuss D.M.S.R, at least the lyrics of D.M.S.R, is Christy Norman. Hi, Christy.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be back.
Thanks. I appreciate you coming back on the show. And, welcome back. And it's been a bit.
Thank you.
So
yeah.
if you could remind our listeners what you're up to and where people can find you and kind of what you're doing Prince-related and maybe even non-Prince-related.
Sure. Well, my husband and I are the co-hosts of The Mountains and the Sea, which is a Prince podcast where we look at the highs and lows of each and every Prince album. We also look at ancillary material and videos and fashion, all kinds of stuff. And we pick our favorite thing and our least favorite thing in a time capsule. And you can find us on Twitter. That's probably the easiest place to find us. At TMATS, T-M-A-T-S podcast, The Mountains and the Sea. And then I have another podcast called Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment. And I do a lot of research, and my co-host Jackie is a psychology grad student. So she always has really good insight in looking at what's entertaining and what can the entertainment inform about our understanding of humanity. So it's kind of fun, and we laugh a lot too. So you can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So on your guys' podcast, on The Mountains and the Sea, the one you do with your husband, Josh, you guys have covered 1999, haven't you?
We have. Yeah, we did that back in February of 2019. We looked at it, talked about it, and of course that was prior to the announcement that the estate's going to re-release with lots of additional material. So we'll probably revisit a lot of that.
Yeah, that's fine. It's great. It's great to have a little bit of an intersection between podcasts because, your insight is useful for my podcast. And so that's why I have you on the show.
Yeah, well, and it's a pleasure. If I didn't like Prince music, I wouldn't make a podcast about it. So I love talking Prince. I'm happy to be here. And D.M.S.R, it's just such a great song. It's the party that Prince was calling for in the title track of the album. This is it. It's the party. We're here.
Absolutely party. Yeah. It's a Minneapolis funk party. And Prince has got his synths and his Lynn drum machine, and he's ready to go. And what I like about this song, besides, being a really fun song, I really dig the groove. The groove, that's a synth line, but it kind of mimics a little bit like a horn line too, which is obviously, this is before Prince incorporated real horns into his music.
Right.
So he's having to use a synthesizer to somehow mimic that sound if that's what he was looking for.
Yeah, and kind of a bass sound too, right? Like, you can play this. There's a lot of ways to achieve this, which is why it's so recognizable.
Yeah, it's just infectious, absolutely 100% infectious. And this is a long song. It's almost 8.5 minutes.
Yeah. So
it needs to be infectious and not get repetitive if you're going to drag a song out for over 8 minutes.
Right.
And, some detractors of the 1999 album may say that some of these songs go on too long. I've never been one to make that argument because for me, as long as it sounds good, as long as the music is strong enough to sustain a 7, 8, 9 minute song, then go for it. I don't have any problems with that. It's just when the bass song is kind of boring to begin with and it drags on, that's when I have maybe some issues. But
yeah, well, I want it to go places. If it's going to be long, give me something new. Give me something to look forward to. I'm fine with a long song as long as it's got something new to share with me after, 3 or 4 minutes. I need to go somewhere. But if it's going places, keep it rolling, man. That's
Yeah,
good stuff.
I'm with you on that. Keep the party going. All right, so D.M.S.R wasn't a single in the United States. It was released in the UK as a single. It was the third single from the album, instead of Delirious like it was in the US, which is weird because in the UK it was a single, but I think they added it as a single. And I could be wrong about this, but I feel like it was a single because in a lot of configurations of this record, early CD configurations at least, this song was left off, which is crazy.
Yes. So, okay. So I actually have the whole confusing release history. I wrote it all down.
Go for it.
So it was the B-side to the 12-inch single in the UK, which was the first single from the album. So 1999 was the first single. It was the B-side on the 12-inch. Then it was also the third single in the UK. Then it ended up on the Risky Business soundtrack here in the US in 1984. Then it was the B-side to the 1998 reissue of 1999. And then you're correct that when the CD first came out in the early 80s or mid 80s of this album of 1999, it was left off because there could only fit 74 minutes of music on a CD. So they left it off because it had been on the Risky Business soundtrack. So there was a way to get it on CD in the US, and that's why they left it off. Mm-hmm. And then as the technology improved, of course, they added it back in.
Yeah.
So,
I never had a CD version of this that was missing D.M.S.R. because by the time I got it on CD, it was already like the 90s. So
okay,
I was good. I always had D.M.S.R. I never missed it.
I don't know how we ended up with both copies of it, but we did. We've got one without and one with.
Oh,
yeah.
The one without got to be pretty old. I mean, because that's I don't know when they corrected it. I'm not exactly sure.
I think it was real late 80s.
Yeah, so you got a very early version then if you've got the one without.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly rare, but yes, it's an early version.
Yeah, so no, you're not sitting on a gold mine, I guess, but whatever.
No.
All right, well, double album, and this was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was the last song on side 2.
I don't know. I don't know, because I've never had a record version of it.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's correct. I think side 1 was 1999 Little Red Corvette Delirious, and I think side 2, you flip it over, Let's Pretend We're Married to D.M.S.R. So those 5 songs made up the first record.
That makes sense, because the first 3 songs ended up getting played consecutively on the radio. It was like a Stairway to Heaven situation where they needed something long so they could go take a break. And they play all the front side of the album. Yeah, so that's I think you're correct.
I think that's a solid 12, 13 minutes of music right there that DJ can just pop on and take his little
cup of coffee
smoke
or
break
whatever.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very cool. So D.M.S.R, like you mentioned, was on the Risky Business soundtrack. I did quickly look at a YouTube clip of the scene in Risky Business that D.M.S.R was played. Uh-huh. It was a scene where Tom Cruise is being interviewed by a Princeton administration officer, and he's throwing a house party because that scene. I haven't seen Risky Business at the time, but I just remember a lot of scenes where Tom Cruise is throwing parties at his house.
Right.
So naturally, this was being played in the background in a party scene because it's a party song.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense to go along with that scene. It was left off of different configurations, added back on, released as a single in some places, not as a single in other places. Whatever version that you heard, however you heard it, D.M.S.R is, as we already talked about, a very danceable, upbeat, funky track where it's got a memorable synth line, a really memorable bass. That everybody knows that bass. Mm-hmm. And the lyrics, in this one, it's all about partying. I mean, we're going to get to it, and I think we're probably going to get started here really soon with the verses. And there's some interesting things in here. So, kicking off the first verse, it goes, "Everybody get on the floor. What the hell did you come here for? Girl, it ain't no use. You might as well get loose. Work your body like a whore. Say, everybody, get on the beat. We're going to show you mothers how to scream. People everywhere, loosen up your hair. Take a deeper breath and sing along with me. Yes. Are you ready? Then goes into the chorus.
Yeah.
So the first verse, what are you taking away from the first verse, Christy?
Well, I always love that, like, he's calling you out. If you're not going to get out and dance at the club, why did you go? Yeah. What the hell did you come here for? Why did you go? If you're not going to dance, get out there and dance. And he's not going to let anybody be a wallflower.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's calling out all the wallflowers that to get their asses out on the floor.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're doing. We're partying, and so
that's right.
If you're not down with the cause, you need to skedaddle, I guess.
Yeah.
Because this is what it's all about. So the work your body like a whore line is one of those I think that he has changed over time, because this is a song that has been played. He played it throughout his career. It wasn't one of those that he buried in the past and said, I'm never revisiting that again.
Right.
He just repurposed it a bit, and that's a clear clear line where he could make a tweak to it and change it and make it less sexual.
Yeah, he frequently changed it in the musicology era to work it like you want some more. So
yeah, that works.
Yeah, I was like, that's fine. A lot of fans would get upset that he changed the lyrics, but I was like, whatever, man. It's still fun. It's not like he changed the meaning. Actually, he kept the meaning exactly the same and just used different language that's less demeaning.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that.
And ultimately, they're his lyrics to change. So
yeah,
I mean, he can do whatever he wants with them ultimately, or he could do whatever he wanted with them when he was playing them live. If he wanted to switch it up a little bit, which he obviously did, or he wanted to just play it faithfully, that was his choice. And I mean, as long as the meaning ultimately is the same, which it clearly is when he changes that line. I wouldn't personally have any beef with it, but so that's what this first verse is all about. Just getting everybody, making everybody aware of what the purpose of this song and what the goal is. Getting on the floor, get loose, get on the beat, loosen up your hair, take a deep breath, and sing along with me. And then it goes into the chorus, and here's where we hear him say, dance, music, sex, romance.
Yeah, everybody. In case you weren't sure what D.M.S.R. was.
And to be honest, it took me a long time. As a kid, I didn't know what D.M.S.R. stood for.
Oh, okay.
Because I hadn't heard the song, so I just saw it on the track listing, because I didn't have 1999 yet. But I knew of its existence. I saw it on the track listing whenever I would go to like the record store or something, and I would flip it over and I'd see this song called D.M.S.R. And knowing Prince and knowing a lot of his songs at that point in his career could be considered risque or explicit, I just assumed that it meant something dirty. My mind quickly went there. I'm like, oh, this is a acronym because it probably stands for something really dirty.
Not really all that dirty, but
not really.
Yeah. Were you disappointed?
No, I wasn't disappointed. I think it was just, the fact that it had sex in the title.
Yeah.
I guess for, my preteen head, that was dirty enough.
Yeah. That's fair.
Sex, or the S stood for sex. So, okay, that's good enough. It wasn't quite as dirty as maybe my imagination was thinking it was, but at least it wasn't like, something super innocuous or PG.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of sexual innuendo in there.
Just enough salaciousness.
Exactly, just enough salaciousness. Yep, to keep me interested. I don't know why they chose to call it D.M.S.R. instead of calling it, or why he chose to call it D.M.S.R. instead of calling it Dance, Music, Sex, Romance, and just spelling it all out in the title. I don't know. But
I really love like the parts where he sings D.M.S.R. in the background, where they're singing other stuff on top of it. It comes much later, but he's in the background, D.M.S.R., and it's just, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I kind of love that it's not like so like straightforward.
Yeah, so is he saying DMSR during that
Uh-huh.
bass line?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
so
the
cool.
the bass line always gets me, and so sometimes I forget that there's words over over it.
See,
Yeah.
and when I hear that bass line, I sing it to myself. Like I'm singing it.
Well,
There
I'm
it
going to
is.
start listening to this song in a different way now. Thanks, Chris. 35 years, 37. Geez,
And I can change it. Yes.
you got me on that one. The other cool thing now that I like about so the first verse, it's really just Prince. You
Yeah.
don't really hear any background singing, but in the chorus, you got all of these background singers, and if you go to the credits, they give Prince gives credit to a lot of different background vocalists. You've
Yeah.
got pre-Revolution members, Lisa Coleman and Brown Mark. But then you've got all these other names that unless you're really deep into the Prince lore and how his music was recorded, and even some characters, I call them characters because they have character type names on the
Yeah.
credits. You have no idea who these people are. There's somebody named Jamie Shoup. There's
Hmm.
Carol McGovney, Peggy McCreary, and then there's two individuals called Poochie and the Count.
Yeah, we're still waiting to find out who they are.
Yeah, and they're all given background vocal credits. And so Jamie, Carol, and Peggy, their identities have been documented, and we've figured out who they are.
Yeah.
And kind of like they were just probably in the right place at the right time, or hanging out in the studio or whatever.
Yeah.
When Prince wanted to get this kind of like crowd sound, a party vibe. And so to do that, I mean, in the past, a lot of times Prince would just, double, triple, quadruple track his vocals to make it sound like a party. But, at this point, he's got a band. There's people around him. He's like, yeah, well, I'll get a variety of different voices. I'll get some men, some women, and we'll have them all kind of repeat these lines after me to make it really sound like a party. And
Hmm.
absolutely adds to that party vibe of the song by having all these different voices come in and repeat, all right,
Yeah.
dance, music, sex, romance, and then you hear everybody in the background singing right after he does. It's like
Yeah.
he's a conductor, and singing the songs and having everybody repeat them after him in the same manner, and it's really cool. It's a really cool sound.
Well, and it really always made me kind of think that he really thought about what it was going to be like to perform this live. That, that because he encouraged this crowd, for lack of a better term, like interaction with it, it was him interacting with his future audiences.
Yeah.
And I always kind of love that he was really thinking, I really think that he was thinking about what it was going to be like to stand up in front of an audience and sing this song, and how is it going to be fun, and and that's why it can go on so long, because it's so fun, because you get a chance to participate, even if you never see him perform it live, you get this chance to participate while you're listening, and it's so much fun.
Yes, you too can be Poochie.
That's right. Poochie and the Count. That's who it is.
That's us. We're all Poochie. We're all the Count.
Right. That's right. Oh, we've solved it. I'm sure we'll be proven wrong in the next month when the expanded edition comes out. But
oh yeah, the liner notes. Somebody finally tracked down Poochie and the Count.
Yeah, exactly. But for now, you, me, we're Poochie and the Count.
Exactly. We can all fill in those big shoes. And you're right. It's absolutely a song where crowd participation is encouraged.
Yeah.
Even if you're not at a concert, if you're just sitting in your living room singing the song, you just can't help but sing those backing vocals whenever he says all right, and you have to sing afterwards. It just feels like you just feel compelled to do so.
Yes. I mean, you're not alive. Feel like you can not sing back to this. There's something, you're dead inside. I'm sorry for you.
Yep, and then we're the wallflowers that he's railing against in the first verse. Then if we can't sing along,
that's right.
All right, so yeah, it goes everybody, all right, dance, music, sex, romance, and then he repeats that, and then we go into the second verse. Everybody, loosen up, shake it like you just don't care. Never mind your friends, girl, it ain't no sin to strip right down to your underwear. I say everybody, screw the masses. We only want to have some fun. I say do whatever we want. Wear lingerie to a restaurant. Police ain't got no gun. You don't have to run. And now in the second verse is when you start hearing some of those background vocalists during the verse. Like we heard them in the chorus. Yeah. Didn't really hear them in the first verse, but now they're starting to chime in during the second verse. And, you have some of these repeated lines like shake it like you just don't care. And then you have a female vocal, assuming Lisa, based off the credits, singing right behind it, shake it like you just don't care. And, and everybody, and then they repeat everybody. Additional lines like that where it's just kind of like, this is just a call and response type verse for sure.
Yeah.
So he's providing more encouragement to the listener, to the crowd, to the party, to loosen up, letting your inhibitions run free, encouraging women to get undressed.
Yeah. Well, which is something he really encouraged of his proteges at this time and for quite a lot of the 80s, and for really into the 90s too. Like, go out there. Here's a teddy. Go perform in that. In your lingerie. Wear that. It'll be fine. But to be fair, he wasn't asking them to do anything he hadn't done himself.
Exactly. Yep. He practiced what he preached. He was out there in his underwear too. So, yeah, you're right.
And he did change that lyric when he performed it in the 2000s, but I couldn't find any record of what he changed it to.
Oh, the strip right down to your underwear line?
Yeah, he changed it to something else, but I don't know what that was.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody out there knows. I don't know either. But
I don't either. I looked. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, but at least he's practicing what he preaches, and
That's
at least
right.
he's not being a hypocrite. And when it comes down to, taking off the clothes and stripping down, really just kind of releasing whatever bonds that that person might have. Mentally, physically, and I guess from the physical standpoint, certainly, if you're in a button-down suit or wearing some stuffy clothes that you wore to work, now's the time to kind of take them off and strip down to something a little more comfortable. And if that means your underwear, so be it.
That's right. You don't have to go home first. You don't have to go home, put on your blue jeans. Just come here and take off your clothes. It'll be fine.
As long as they've got a nice heating system in this place. Although I'm sure all the body heat that would be generated by all these people, this party, would certainly make it warm enough that you wouldn't feel too underdressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get a little bit more from this one maybe than in the second verse and the first verse. Kind of like the whole "screw the masses" line where he's really kind of saying, whatever society says is what we should be doing. And this just is, right in line with the stuff that Prince had been preaching basically from Dirty Mind up until 1999, those 3 records. A lot of it was anti-establishment and not following the typical beaten path that everybody is taking, doing what feels right to you. And screw the masses is kind of like what I get from that is just essentially it doesn't matter if most people would never consider doing this and never consider letting themselves go and having this sort of fun. This is the safe place to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a line, so this whole screw the masses and talks about letting your body be free, does that in sexuality, and I kind of get the same kind of vibe from this. So like in the song Sexuality from Controversy, he talks about letting his body be free, and this second verse has a lot of parallels, I think, with that song, and just mentioning wearing lingerie to a restaurant. That's not something that you would typically do or see anybody do. And in most places you would probably get kicked out if you actually did that, but but he's saying police ain't got no gun in this verse, so I'm not sure where he's living. Right.
I mean, is he talking about the bouncers? He in the UK? Where is he? That the police don't have a gun, and just because they don't have a gun doesn't mean they can't kick you out of the restaurant.
Yeah,
they sure can.
They certainly can. You just have to have a very willful and muscular bouncer that can just throw you out on your butt if you're not dressed appropriately, and if you don't leave. They can call the police. But I guess the only thing I'm really thinking of with this is that in this type of scenario, in this sort of utopian idea of people being free and doing what they want, there are no policemen with guns that are going to stop them from undressing or wearing lingerie to a restaurant. I mean, it's not real and it's not realistic.
No.
It's not the actual world we live in, but this is Uptown. The idea of Uptown still kind of materializing on the 1999 album, I think, in some ways.
Agreed. This is Uptown. The rules are different there.
Rule are different. Please don't have guns, and you can wear lingerie to a restaurant.
That's right.
With that much we have figured out so far. All right, so then he goes back into the chorus again. So it repeats the same lines. Everybody, all right. Dance, music, sex, romance. And then we get a little bit of a kind of a musical breakdown at this point. So yeah, between the second and third verse, we get that musical breakdown, which there's a few of these in this song. And what that does is it does extend the length of the song a bit.
Yeah.
Like maybe normally you might have a short breakdown and go towards like the final run of the song, but in D.M.S.R, this musical breakdown just allows him to kind of get the everybody clapping. We got hand claps, and that's one of the background vocalists' credits is also hand claps. So you hear hand clapping in the song, and he encourages white people at this point to clap their hands on the floor.
This part is so funny to me. It's so funny because he says, all the white people clap your hands on the floor now. And then he gives you a little while to get there. And then he counts it off for you because we need a little help to get there.
Both of us being white people, we can probably attest to that. Yeah.
I'm like, yes, as somebody who's not as great with the rhythm, Josh, my husband and co-host on the Mountains and the Sea, was like, well, maybe it's hard to find the 4 in this song. And I'm like, you have decent rhythm. I don't. I think I'm maybe a little more typical when it comes to this. I need a little help finding the 4.
Oh, yeah. He counts it down for us. He counts it down for us, and he gives us plenty of time, like you said.
Plenty of time to find it, and then, let me help you.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for us to gather our thoughts and, compose ourselves and get ready for the 1, 2, 3.
That's right.
Then we can clap on the 4. So, we clap on the 4. At this point, he's encouraging all the white people to clap on the 4. And then he doesn't really give anybody else a chance to do that. That's later. He gives everybody a chance later.
Yeah.
He singles the white people out at this point. That's cool. We need a little extra help. So then we're given the third verse. I don't want to be a poet because I don't want to blow it. I don't care to win awards. I mean, he's speaking these lines. Mm-hmm. It's just a different song structure, different lyrical structure than in the first 2 verses.
Yeah, it goes places.
Yeah, so he's definitely, exactly, to your point earlier, the song goes places. It's not just simply repeating more about partying and everybody getting off their butts. I don't want to be a poet because I don't want to blow it. I don't care to win awards. All I want to do is dance, play music, sex, romance, and try my best to never get bored. If you feel all right, let me hear you scream. And then he screams, of course, because Prince does those epic screams. Mm-hmm. So, third verse. What are you getting from this one?
Oh, try my best to never get bored. I think that was the story of Prince's life. Mm-hmm. I think he was just constantly trying to avert boredom. He was so quick and so ahead of his time. I think it was just really, he's always trying something new because the thing that is now is already boring to him because he thought of it years ago. So, I mean, it exemplifies everything I think that we love about him. Try my best to never get bored. Yep. He had that. He always wanted to make sure that he had the creative freedom to allow himself to never get bored. Because without creative freedom, then he's kind of stuck in a rut. Because the music industry and the record labels are gonna really be looking for him to do a certain sound, make certain kind of songs, and his creative freedom has allowed him throughout his career to never get bored by switching up his sound, switching up his style.
trying something new, going out on a limb with a new style, with a new sound, new band, new lyrical focus, whatever it is. That's always been his mantra, is to never get bored and never allow us as Prince fans to get bored with his music, which is beautiful. Beautiful thing about being somebody who has followed Prince for his entire career is it's not boring.
No,
not boring.
No. I always feel so fortunate just to have been able to live in a world where we both breathed air at the same time. It's kind of amazing. And what a time to be alive. We're so lucky.
Yeah, we absolutely are. And I like to say are because there's still, as we're finding out, there's still a lot of stuff that we're discovering. Been listening to Prince since 1983, and here I am still discovering new stuff, and it's amazing. It's amazing that there's still more to be discovered, and
for years and years more.
For many years. I don't think we're gonna get bored anytime soon either.
No.
That's great. It's good.
Yeah.
It's great to know that.
Yeah.
It's great to know
that. I'm not crying. You're crying.
So the whole oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
We'll give you a little time here. Yeah, I don't want to be a poet. I don't want to blow it. I don't care to win awards. So those lines, I'm really kind of, at this point in his career, he wasn't really winning awards. He wasn't sure, he might have been a critical darling, but he wasn't at the point where the critics that he was impressing or the ones that he was in favor with were really the ones handing out the awards at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of says as much in, not to jump too far ahead, but All the Critics Love You in New York. Later on in this album, I'm not winning awards, but they all love me. All the critics love me. Yep.
Not winning awards, but at this point, he's basically saying, being very defiant about it, I don't care. That's not really my thing. If you want to give me an award, cool, but that's not my focus.
That's not the goal.
Nope, not the goal. So this is the verse that is pretty interesting because of these different lines where he's more kind of speaking more personally, I think, with this verse than he had in the first two verses, where it's more encouraging others to get on board with the dance, music, sex, romance philosophy. And in the third verse, it's more looking internally, talking about himself. I don't want to be a poet. I don't care to win awards. All I want to do is dance. Try my best to never get bored. So I like this third verse for that reason, because he is looking internally and kind of expressing his own philosophy on his career, maybe his life as well, but certainly you could make the parallels how these are all things that he looked at for his career and then stayed pretty true to them for the decades in the future, because this was written in 1982 and he was still a very young artist at the time. So the fact that he was able to kind of set the standard, I don't care to win awards, I just want to never get bored and play music, sex, romance. I mean, because even though he got religious later, he always had God and he always had spirituality in his music, but he got, obviously further with the Jehovah's Witness and changed some of his style.
Right.
But a lot of these aspects, the dance music of dance, music, sex, romance, were still a part of his music. He still made sexy music after becoming a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, it was just less explicitly so.
Yes.
Less explicit language, still very sexual.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who he was. It's not something you can really change.
No. I don't think he wanted to change that part of who he was anyway.
Well, and it's interesting. He's got the I don't want to be a poet because I don't want to blow it. I heard a interview with Lisa Coleman, and she was talking about how nervous he was, that he felt very confident in his ability to compose the music, but he was less assured of himself when it came to lyrics. And she said that he really worked very diligently to make his lyrics something he felt that were worthy of the compositions that he was making. And I always thought that was really interesting because I always think of him as an amazing lyricist.
Well, yeah.
And, you know, obviously you do too, because you're making a whole podcast about his lyrics. And, but it's so interesting to me. It shows us what amazing work ethic he had, that he felt like he wasn't stellar at this, and still he worked at it and worked at it and worked at it to really be the absolute best that he possibly could.
Yeah, that's good insight, because Prince always exuded a lot of confidence. And, you know, a lot of people that exude confidence can still have insecurities. I mean, nobody's perfect, and we all know internally what we feel our weaknesses are. Mm. And so instead of retreating and maybe, you know, trying to get a bunch of co-writers, or not even doing very lyrical compositions because he didn't think that was a strong suit, he just worked at it, like was mentioned, just worked at it until he felt like his lyrics were up to par. Yeah, and
it wasn't play to your strengths, it was build your strengths.
Yeah, because maybe it wasn't natural for him at the beginning. And, you know, I mean, on lyrics on albums like For You and Prince, those two records maybe weren't the strongest lyrically, or, you know, there were some good ideas there from a musical standpoint, but sometimes the lyrics didn't always match it. But as I'm going through these records, there's a clear improvement, I feel like, in terms of the lyrics and how they are communicating a feeling or a thought, and doing it in a very, very creative way. And that's what I like so much about his evolution as a lyricist, is how creative he gets with his lyrics, and how he's able to turn simple phrases and make them complex. Yeah. Turning simple phrases and turning them complex, and not just for the sake of complexity, but to really make them interesting. Yeah. And I love that about him.
Yeah. Gives depth. Mm-hmm. You can understand things in more than one way.
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah. That's why I like doing this podcast, because it allows me and whomever I might have as my guest to really kind of pour through it and figure out, but at least talk through it ourselves, and just talk through the lyrics, and maybe we'll, you know, provide insight to each other. Maybe we have the same ideas, and that's all cool. But I think really it forces me and forces the listener to break these songs down, because a song like D.M.S.R, it's so reliant on that groove and the music that maybe some of these lyrics just don't get thought of too deeply or thought of too often, because it's not. It doesn't seem like there's a lot going on in the lyrics. But as we're finding out, while there's a lot of that, there's also this other stuff, like this third verse that we were just covering. Has some very interesting things going on. Yeah. All right, so he jumps into the chorus again, and this is kind of an extended chorus, repeats the dance music, sex, romance, and he really is encouraging everybody to, you know, call out after him. Once again, the call and response attempt here. And it goes on for a bit, you know, dance, dance, music, music, sex, sex, romance, romance. And he repeats that over and over. And you're right, they do have, even as I look through the lyrics online, you have, like, in double parentheses, parts where it says D.M.S.R. And that must be kind of like what you were bringing up when you hear him saying D.M.S.R. in the background. Yeah. So it's like the background lyric.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's so, I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that most people didn't do.
And so at this point now, you know, you got the crowd really into it, and that bass line that has been very prevalent throughout the song. Now there's some new lyrics that he chimes in here, and this is this is another very interesting part of the song. This is spoken section where he goes, Jamie Starr is a thief. It's time to fix your clock. Vanity 6 is so sweet. Then you can all take a bite of my purple rock. Can we stop?
Love it. Funny Prince is my very favorite.
This is when he was still denying that he was Jamie Starr. So
I know. I'm like, Jamie Starr's a thief. Okay. Sure.
Yep. Jamie Starr, the producer of the Times' first 3 albums. And, at this point in 82, we would have had the debut. And I think What Time Is It had been out by this time.
Yeah.
At this time. So there was 2 Time records where Jamie Starr was the producer.
Uh-huh.
And on record, Prince flat out denies that he's Jamie Starr, and so this is just another opportunity for him to deny that he has any involvement in the Time.
Nice.
Yep.
So funny.
And then you got the clue in the next line with "It's time to fix your clock."
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh yes, and he can't even say the time because he was so jealous of how well they performed.
Yeah,
he said they were the only act that he hated going after. And he loved them and had fun with them and worked with them and obviously could appreciate that they did such a good job, but man, he ticked him off that they did such a good job. And then I guess he did prank things to try and mess them up.
Oh yeah, that's
threw eggs at him and things, and
yep, that's been documented. And I'm reading Morris Day's book as we speak, and so he talks about that. He definitely talks about that.
So fun.
So it's coming right from the man himself.
Yeah.
That these aren't just rumors.
No.
So yeah, the Jamie Starr's a thief. It's time to fix your clock is kind of a dig. It's a little bit of a dig at the time. Also, a chance for him to once again to deny that he's actually Jamie Starr. And I'm imagining like, okay, it's 1982, 1983. I'm buying this record. I might not even have any idea who Jamie Starr is. I might not have bought the Time record. I might just only know Prince because of Little Red Corvette in 1999, and maybe my my radio station doesn't play the Time.
Yeah.
So I might have zero clue who Jamie Starr is. So these lines could be meaningless unless you're a fan of the Time and you saw the production credit.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's
then
just fun.
Yeah, it is fun that he's calling it out, and then he does the same thing with the third line. Vanity 6 is so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, he's also launching the Vanity 6 project, and his at the time girlfriend.
Yeah.
So in this one, he's a little kinder. They're so sweet.
Well, yeah. Well, because Denise Matthews was his girlfriend, and she was an obedient protege.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did what he wanted her to do.
At least for a couple years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, at the time of this recording,
yes.
he was pleased with her. She was obedient, and he liked it. Yeah.
Plus, the Vanity 6 project was fairly new, so I'm sure that it was in his best interest to kind of promote it a little bit.
Yeah.
At the same time. So, hey, you like this song? Check out this band, Vanity 6, too. But then I like the last line is hilarious to me. Now you can all take a bite of my purple rock. So is he telling who's he telling to take a bite of his purple rock?
I don't know. The haters. Break your teeth on it. Go ahead. I don't know. Maybe he's mad at. Maybe it's another dig at the Time. Maybe it's the people who weren't giving him awards.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know, but it's funny.
It is funny because not to be too crass, but he's basically saying, "Suck my dick."
Yeah, exactly.
Really? That's what he's saying, but he's saying it in a very creative way.
Yeah.
And in a way that, could get by the censors if it needed to get by the censors, and also kind of keeping with the theme that he is beginning really in 1982 in this album with the whole purple.
Yeah.
Purple in 1999.
Yeah.
Purple is mentioned in this song here, Purple Rock. He's got a song called Purple Music that he recorded around this time that didn't get released. So
the cover of the album was
purple. So at this time in his career, it was all about the purple. And so this is just another chance for him to kind of cement that.
Yeah.
His connection to that color.
Yeah.
And just like I said, it was a creative way of saying something kind of dirty, so which he was an expert at. All right, so then after that little funny section of seemingly non sequiturs, we've got more of the the repeated, "Are you ready? Everybody sing the song now. Ooh, all right. Dance, music, sex, romance."
Yep.
And he keeps on going along with this for a little bit, and then he starts bringing in other nationalities, races. Says all the Negroes say, Puerto Ricans say, the white people. He gives white people another chance to get it right. Japanese say it one more time. And so this is once again him getting everybody sing it together. He wants all of these different races and nationalities to get together and party in this song, just like he has in so many other songs up to this point.
Yeah. Well, and I just love that it's so... We have something unifying his music. We're unified by it, but we're able to maintain our personal and cultural identities while we do it.
Yeah.
And I just love that that's how it is, because I'll see this as arguments where people will say, oh, Prince was an all lives matter guy. Look, everybody is brought together by his music. Yes, everybody was brought together by his music, but we maintained our individuality, and he found a way to both unify us and celebrate our diversity, which I thought was so great, so ahead of its time. And he really did that in his band too. Up to when Prince put a band together, the bands were homogenous. You had a Latinx band, you had a black band, you had a all white band, everybody was homogenous. And that it was really important to Prince to have his band reflect the diversity that he saw in his audience. And it's so cool.
Yeah, it's what I like. It's kind of interesting because it calls back a little bit to Uptown, and which is another episode that you and I did together.
Yeah.
Because in that one, he's got the line about the black, white, Puerto Rican, everybody's just a freakin'. And here he calls out black, white, and Puerto Rican to sing, but now he adds Japanese, so he's even including more nationalities into this credo of dance, music, sex, romance that he's presented to us. So it's cool. Maybe in the next one they'd be Colombian, Chinese,
Norwegian.
Sure, you never know what would have been next. He had another opportunity to call out another nationality. But the sentiment is obviously there. The sentiment is everybody, dance, music, sex, romance, call it out, party, because this is really all still about the call and response. There's a lot of voices in the background, and this is just the part of the song where it just keeps going. It extends it over and over, and I think it's extended out at this point. I feel like it is just to keep the groove going, to keep the party going. Nobody wants it to stop, Yeah. So how do you keep a party going? You just keep getting crowd interaction. Like, maybe the Japanese were feeling a little left out. Hey, I'm going to call them out because I want their participation too. We got to keep this going. We got to keep the party going and through the night. And that's, like I said, a lot of what this song is doing at this point. It may feel like it's just starting to get repetitive, but I really feel like it's done this way and extended out this way to keep the vibe going, keep the vibe of the song going, and it still works. But then we've got this the part at the very end, and then as the party continues on, you hear a female voice, and I looked actually, because I wasn't sure who it sounded like. Part of me thought maybe it was Lisa, or maybe even Prince doing a high pitch, having his voice pitched up or something like that. So I went to one of my frequent podcast guests, Zachary Hoskins' blog, which is aptly titled Dance, Music, Sex, Romance, at theprincsongs.org, and he wrote about D.M.S.R, and he cites the voice as being Lisa's. So that was my initial thought. I just didn't want to assume that. Right. There's a lot of other women on the song, a lot of background vocalists. Jill Jones was around at this time. So I didn't want to assume that, but Zachary, I think, cites it as being Lisa. And so unless somebody corrects me, I'm going to stick with that. But anyway.
Yeah, he's pretty reliable. He does his research.
Yeah, and Lisa's voice is all over in these albums, so it wouldn't surprise me. So anyways, Lisa, we're going to say Lisa starts yelling out in a very kind of frantic tone, "Somebody call the police.
Yeah.
Help me, somebody please help me." And it's not sung like, or it's not said in a kind of a calm tone, like not the Lisa
No.
Coleman of Head, where it's done very monotone or kind of sexual. This sounds like somebody desperate, somebody.
Yeah, it's unsettling.
It is a little unsettling. So I know that you and Josh talked a little bit about this. What were your thoughts when you heard this, other than just being unsettling? Anything additional?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a pattern. We came to realize that it's a pattern at the end of the songs on this album. It's a doomsday album. It's a celebration of the end of the world. At the end of 1989, we get kind of a creepy child. Why does everybody have a bomb? We have an unexpected baby coup at the end of Delirious. You've got the very, very graphic lyrics at the end of Let's Pretend We're Married. Then we've got this here where this woman is calling for help, and it's unsettling, and you're unsure if anybody called for help. Then at the end of Automatic, we get kind of some mournful wails, and then we don't get so much lyrics, but Something in the Water, All the Critics Love You in New York, and International Lover kind of use some instrumental techniques to give you this confused, uneasy, unsettling feeling. So I think it was something that he was playing with to remind you, hey, this is a dance song, but there's a bigger picture here. So, yeah.
Tying the music back to the theme of the entire album. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what to make of it other than I don't know how else to explain it or understand it other than looking at this bigger context that we have all this stuff going on, and I want more of the story. I mean, 8.5 minutes wasn't enough to tell me what happened to this lady at the end.
Right, and so there's a lot of questions that it really asks more questions than it answers.
Yeah,
because it ends so abruptly after this woman calls for help and asking somebody to call the police.
Yeah.
So I mean, the theory of it just being in line with what he's been doing with it for most of this record, with adding some kind of unsettling elements to what seemingly are party songs, because this is one of the most blatant party song on the record.
Well,
because 1999 is a party song, but there's also a lot of lyrics about the end of the world, so we kind of know what it's about. It's not hidden.
Yeah, but I mean, this song is just like, everybody's having a good time, everybody's having fun, and then there's this. Yeah,
you don't see it coming. You don't see it coming, or you don't hear it coming. There's no indication that anything is amiss or awry during this party. Everybody's dancing, everybody's partying, and all of a sudden you got this. So you've got the one theory about it being, just a thematic choice that he used to kind of remind us that despite this fun-ass party we're having in D.M.S.R, there's still these social ills and this end-of-the-world theme going on in this record. Or another thing that I kind of thought when I would hear it for many years is that it's maybe like the party's almost gone on too long. It's like somebody needs help, because I'm not talking like, taking drugs or any alcohol overdoses or anything like that. It's just more like, I'm having so much fun, I can't stop partying. Somebody needs to help me.
Oh.
And that's almost like, that's what I had thought about for many, many years. It's like somebody is just overdosing on fun, overdosing on dancing and partying, having a good time. Like, they're just overwhelmed with this feeling of, I don't know, euphoria or joy or whatever that the song and then the music gives them, that they need help. They need help because it is just too intense. That's another one that I've kind of thought of over the years whenever, I'd listened to through the end of the song.
Uh-huh.
And so, and then there's also a theory that I read, and I think it was on Zach's blog, where he had cited, so I'm going to give the credit to Zach because I hadn't thought of this myself. Okay. So I got to give the credit to Zach. But his blog and his writings on this song, one alternate interpretation is that it's somebody calling the police on the party.
Oh, like they're too loud.
Yeah, like somebody, I don't know why they would need help. The somebody call the police part makes sense. Like somebody call the police, these people are partying all night and I can't get any sleep, or somebody's like really upset because, like we've seen, unfortunately, in fairly recent past where parties are getting, white people are calling the police on these block parties.
There were Karens back in 1982.
Yes, exactly. And so, I mean, it's just a theory. It's just a theory. But
yeah.
But that's one more. It's like somebody who's just not part of the party, who isn't down with the cause, and is a little intimidated by all of these people getting together, all these black, white, Puerto Rican, Japanese people having this party, and they're a little intimidated. They feel uneasy, so they want to put an end to it. And so they're calling the police, and they're claiming they need help. So we've got a few theories here that we expounded on this episode. So we'll see if anybody is interested in chiming in and providing one more, because none of us really know.
I'm open to all theories.
Yeah, I like all three of them, to be honest with you. So I'm cool with all three.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of the song. That's how the song ends. So as much partying and much fun as we're having up to this point, Prince chose to end it on a downer. So
yeah, big time, but still like interesting to think about and talk about and explore a little bit.
Yeah. It absolutely makes the song interesting. Is even if you're scratching your head at the choice. Yeah. One thing it does is make you think, and it certainly makes us kind of wonder what was the point of that, what was the purpose behind it. So got to give it to him on that one. He's making us think, even when we're supposed to be partying.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. Thanks again to Christy Norman from the Mountains and the Sea podcast for joining me. Appreciate you coming on again and providing your insight and your unique take on these Prince songs, Christy.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'd love to be back anytime.
Okay, well, I will take you up on that, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, goodbye.